Hey, Steve Zook here. Welcome back to Polkzoo channel and the Guitar Ladder System. Hey, I want to talk a little bit today about the 10 systems of improvisation and how they relate to the guitar ladder material. Okay, John McLaughlin, who's a great musician, you may like his music or you may not, says any chord can follow any chord. Great music does not stick with any one set of rules. Some of the best musicians ever, like Wes Montgomery, didn't even read music, didn't know a lot of theory. They just had a very mature ear. They developed their ear, and then they found a lot of tools on the guitar, a lot of sounds. I got to know a lot of color on the guitar. And if you open up like a fake book, you look at any great standard like How High the Moon or whatever it might be, it's not going to stick to strict diatonic form. So my point here is it's very, very important. That's what's so powerful about the guitar ladder system is the guitar ladder system integrates the 10 systems of improvisation into the 200 studies and the Horace Hatchett secret files, so that you don't have to get bogged down with paralysis through analysis. Now, when it does come in a little handy, to be honest about it, is when you get a little further in the guitar ladder system, you start to improvise and you get stuck, and then you say to yourself, okay, do I think diatonically, intervallically, chromatic, whatever. So, for instance, like and again, let me just make that point again. This is what's so powerful about the guitar ladder system, is that by doing my 200 studies, you automatically learn, like cycle 1, you learn about smooth voice leading and how chords connect. You automatically learn this vocabulary of chords and sound and how to create color and tension. So you give your subconscious mind a reference point. So when you're starting to get to the point where you're starting to create and compose and improvise, because compositional skills are based on improvisational skills, when you get to the point where you're starting to hear your own musical ideas, your subconscious mind has tons of reference points. So if you hear an idea, you'll be able to find it. But if you just stick with strict, because I've been teaching for over 40 years, and I've seen this both ways, taken from other teachers that were so hung up. Theory is good, but if it can put you in a box, and it can actually slow down your growth. If it's not like buying, a piece of furniture from IKEA where you have, 38 steps to put together a piece of furniture. Art is a subtle thing, but you need to input information into your subconscious mind to wake up your musical ear, and then you can create. But some of the systems can be helpful as reference points. As an example, like, diatonically speaking, if you're looking at it like, the 1 chord is major 7, 2 is minor 7, right? 3 is minor 7, 4 is major 7, 5 is dominant, 6 is minor 7, 7 is minor 7 flat 5, and 7 and the octave one is the major 7 again. So if you're doing like a 1 6 2 5, 1 G major 7 6, E minor 7, 2 is A minor 7, 5, okay, is 13, like a dominant chord, okay? And then you can, of course, use, substitutions, which I have in some of my cycles. So, like, if you're improvising and you're stuck on a chord, you could think that way. You could think, okay, let me think 1, 2, 3, 1 6 2 5, or, I could go, to second tone of the scale, third tone, whatever, okay? So, again, these are more guidelines once you're... The best thing to do, as corny as it sounds, is not to overthink and just do the studies in the guitar ladder system. Let this information absorb deep into your mind. Let it wake up your ear. Get those reference points, because by doing my studies, you're going to get all these reference points of how chords go together and how you create tension and resolution. And then, like I said, once you get a little further in the program, excuse me, and you start to improvise and you get stuck. As an example, say you're improvising and all of a sudden, let's just say you end up on a C major 7. Maybe you were somewhere else before that, obviously, right? You're not sure where to go from here. Well, you could always think intervallically, which maybe you think, perfect fourth, 1 2 3 4. So from C, you go to F major 7, maybe another fourth, 1 2 3 4. So we have a, right? So you could always think flat 5, like if I'm on a and I'm just kind of doing a quick oversimplification of this, but really the best thing to do is to keep it simple. Like I said, John McLaughlin said any chord can follow any chord, but what's so powerful about the guitar ladder system is I've got built into my 200 studies and the other 50 or 60 secret Horace Hatchet files all these different elements that present themselves in the context of beautiful chordal movement that sounds very musical and that teaches you the different systems of improvisation intuitively. Just, you're going to hear it, you're going to play it, it's going to sink in, and every cycle has one or two or three or different improvisation. But when it really gets to the end of the day, art is a gift from the universe. It's a gift from God. It comes through you. It's kind of like the reverse Houdini thing. You're not trying to escape, from something. You're trying to enter into as Steve Howe would say, kind of a headspace of creativity. And the way to get into that headspace of creativity is you have to input the right information to wake up your musical ear and give your musical ear reference point so that when you come up with an idea, you'll be able to find it because you're familiar with your instrument. You're familiar with the colors and the sentences of vocabulary of putting chords together in different ways. So you've learned about the interior and exterior movement of chords, a smooth voice leading. But like I said, this all happens on a very kind of subconscious level. And if you get too left brain about it and too analytical, you're absolutely going to slow down the process. And in many cases, my wife and I were talking the other day. We know people who went to Berkeley, and Berkeley's a great school, by the way, but there's people who go to Berkeley who drop out because it's too regimented. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot to say. I'm a big believer in disciplined practice, but I'm a big believer in inputting information into your subconscious mind, waking up your musical ear so that can come through. And if you get too rigid about it, if you get too left brain, if you get too analytical, if you get too much into paralysis through analysis, step A, step B, like an engineer. Nothing against engineers, by the way. What I'm trying to say, though, is it's a gentle art, and it's much better to have ear training. Like people like Joe Pass, who I studied with when I was a young man, he used to tell me that he used to sit around for hours a day and just think of new ways to put chords together, okay? And he wasn't thinking a bunch of formulas and things. He just was using his ear. And also by going through standards and stuff, that's good to do too. But as an example, like flat 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's kind of a modern sound, right? So, what I'm saying, and that there's different approaches to this, okay? So you can think, one of the easy ones to understand is chromatic, right? Just moving chords in half steps, okay? Again, don't look for some real complicated thing to grab onto. Don't look for like a bunch of formulas to grab onto that's going to hold you back. That's what's so powerful about the guitar ladder system. From 40 years of hard work, I've integrated the 10 systems of improvisation into my chordal studies and my single note studies. So when you work on them, you're automatically going to be exposed to them. For instance, like polychords, okay, which is a harmony chord. So if I play a chord like this, then come up a scale tone third, there's the polychord for that, okay? Okay. Another example, here's the polychord, okay? But again, the thing is to just learn the formula and to get, it's kind of like Bruce Lee said at some point, he transcended genres of martial arts and just realized it's all just martial arts. Doesn't matter what study, what style, whatever, it's all just the tools of martial arts. It's the same thing with music. But what I'm trying to say here is that as you get further along in the guitar ladder system, it can be then helpful if you're improvising and you kind of get stuck to maybe say, oh, let me think here. I could move chromatically. I could move, common tones. See, I'm using that E keeps repeating. So the main point I'm trying to make here is that, compositional skills are based on improvisational skills. And if you really want to grow as a musician, you need to improve your improvisational skills. You need to wake up your musical ear, and that's what the guitar ladder system is about. You get 200 studies, you get, I think it's 50 or 60 of the secret Horace Hatchet files. I do spoon feed you the material 1 or 2 studies at a time. If I sent you it all at once and blow you away, you've got to let go of the control a little bit. Let me be the teacher. I know what I'm doing, folks. I've had tremendous success with my students. But again, the most important thing is just to do the studies and not overthink it. Just listen. Like cycle 1 is a beautiful study, very important. You see, that automatically teaches smooth voice leading. You can see how all the chords are coming together. Like there's small interval skips. See that? And you also got common tone, like with those first two notes, right? And you got the bass coming up, right? What I'm trying to say is you don't need to get all left brain about this. You don't need to overanalyze it. You'll actually get in the way of your progress if you do, okay? It's very important to just do the studies and let it absorb into your mind, okay? Now, like with cycle 1, then we add the shading, okay? With the major 13 with the flat 5. And hear that? When you find something that works, you can repeat it. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's very important that you don't get too analytical, you don't get too goal-oriented in terms of just results and formulas and all that. You need to just kind of let go a little bit, just do the work, stay in the here and now, stay in the moment. Trust my system, as corny as it sounds, because I've had just amazing, powerful results, folks. You do the 200 studies, you do the Horace Hatchet files, you let me spoon feed you material, because I use my intuition on what to send you next, and just stay in the moment and do the material and listen and let it absorb into your subconscious mind. And then, like I said, when you get a little further down the road, I may send you a video that gets a little more into some theory and whatnot. But where it's really, really important and more valid is once you've got some of my material under your belt. Like I said, if you're improvising, you end up on a chord, you're not sure where to go, then sometimes that can be a little bit of a guide. But like I said, some of the greatest musicians ever, like Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass, they weren't into a ton of theory. In fact, Joe Pass has a super simple, I mean, like I said, my studies with Joe Pass when I was a young man were interesting. He wasn't the most verbal guy in the world, but some of the things he said were so profound and so simple. Like to him, major, minor, that was his whole big take on music. He kept it really, really simple. John McLaughlin, any chord can follow any chord. There you go, you know. Joe Pass used to always talk about chords and groups. Like if he heard this chord, he heard that chord and that chord and that. You know, he'd hear things in groups of chords, which is why my chord studies are so important, because you learn, you know, chordal sentences, so to speak. So it's very, very important to not make things too complex and just stay in the here and now and do the studies of the guitar ladder. You'll take a quantum leap and you'll wake up your musical ear, but you just need to be patient. Don't overthink it. Just do the work, okay? Another thing, like I said, like Wes Montgomery came up with so many beautiful chordal things as well as octave things and beautiful single note lines because he explored his instrument. If you explore, it'd be like being a painter and learning all the different colors that you can paint with, you know, all the different shades, all the way to create different ways to create new color. That's what music is. And so that's why it's so important not to get too analytical. Like I said, maybe I'll do another video down here where I'll pull out a standard. But like I said, most great music does not stick to one form. It doesn't stick to diatonic. It's got a combination of elements. And you take great composers like Chick Corea, they're all over the map. They're you know, great music you can't put into a box, okay? Now sure, there's artists like, you know Bach that tend to be very diatonic and whatnot, but yet they still tend to step outside and break little rules here and there. Rules are really restrictive when it comes to music. Music is something that bubbles up from within. It's a gift from the universe. It's a gift from God. It's all about opening yourself up to receive it and to opening up your musical ear to hear it, and then having tools to find it on your guitar and to hear it and find it. And that's what the guitar ladder system is about. So I'm not putting down all these formulas, but I'm saying they can actually get in the way if you put too much emphasis on them. So if you bought the guitar ladder system, the best thing you can do is just do the studies and listen to them, okay? And like I said, when we get down the road a little bit, I'll actually send you an email where I'll send you another study, but I'll say, okay, go back through and take some of the studies and change something. Even if it's just one or two chords, make some changes, make some alterations. But the most important thing is to be patient. The journey is the goal. Try to stay in the here and now. Just be patient, know that this system works, and just work on the material and don't get too left brain about it. Just listen and play and know that this information is going into your mind. And like I said, you can use simple reference points like chromatic improvisations, very easy, right? You know, I do have some material that I'll be sending out with 165s and things like that. But like I said, great music uses a combination of elements. Like if you listen to my improvisation on my YouTube Polkzoo channel, the one right below the guy surfing, I'm improvising on an LH350, the Laura. I'm a dealer for the Laura. I actually got a call from from Mr. Jamie Glasser. He used to tour with Chick Corea, saying he loved that improvisation. Well, that improvisation uses, 5, 6, 7, 8 different formulas. Did I think about those formulas when I played that? Hell no. That was the last thing in my mind. I was thinking the idea. I was just being empty and still, empty and marvelous, and letting that idea come through me. But it was the practice, the disciplined practice prior to that, that allowed me to just let go and kind of be in the zone and kind of be into a flow state and just allow that to come through me because I've done my work. So it's about the disciplined practice gives you the unconscious release. But when you're actually creating, you're not thinking, oh, chromatic, intervallic, symmetry, diatonic, 1, 6, 2, 5, flat. You're hearing more of those sounds. You're hearing those ideas, but because you've worked on my studies, you've worked on chordal improvisation, you're able to find them and let them come through. So I just wanted to say that, and I think that's enough for today, and I'll be doing a lot more of this. You can order the Guitar Ladder System at stevezookguitars.com. For a free sample, send me an email to polkzoo@gmail.com. It's Polkzoo, just like my YouTube channel, Polkzoo@gmail.com. I'll send you a few samples of the Guitar Ladder System. Thanks, folks. Take care. Let's all stay positive. Let's all keep the faith. Ciao.